Hello, and welcome to the Guilbault Girls Show, where you will have the opportunity to hear from mothers, fathers, siblings, and individuals themselves about their journey of living with a disability. I know, it's called Guilbault Girls, but we have a bonus for you as we get the Guilbault boys to interview some of the dads and siblings and get their perspectives too. We'll also have special guests from time to time to share the many resources that are available to those living with a disability and their families. So get ready to laugh, smile, cry, maybe even get a little angry when you hear some of these stories of their day-to-day struggles. But let's not forget their many triumphs. As they say, it takes a village. And if it weren't for our village, we wouldn't be where we are today. So join us. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Guilbault Girls. Today we have Jimmy Apple, who is one of my mentors who helped me get started with doing my podcast. So hello, Jimmy. How are you?
How you doing, Karen?
I'm doing very well. So Jimmy Apple. Okay, so in November 17th, Famous Apple launched the podcast An Apple a Day, Living with a Disability. An Apple a Day is not only a podcast, but also a resource and a community. It's a place to share your experiences and learn from others as we overcome barriers and learn to live a happy and healthy life with a disability. Since November 2017, An Apple a Day has been downloaded thousands of times and heard in 74 countries. That's pretty awesome. The podcast is published weekly on Fridays, and he also has some added bonus episodes from time to time. So be sure at the end, we will put everything in the show notes on where you can find Jimmy Apple. So first, I want to thank you. You have been an instrumental part with me, like finally launching my podcast, the Guilbault Girls podcast and YouTube show. And it's something that I wanted to do for so long, several years, to be honest, but I kept getting hung up on my stupid website. I'm like thinking, well, I can't start a podcast unless I have my website. I don't even use my website, to be honest. So you guys really like pushed me in the direction, just start, and I was slowly saving over time to get my computer and to get the equipment and just watching video after video tutorials on YouTube. So for the listeners, I met Jimmy actually after documentary Face World aired. He got in touch with me and we did an interview. And then also by sharing some of our goals and what we wanted to do, he was our biggest cheerleader. He gave me advice on every aspect of the process, and I truly can't thank you enough. Then he introduced us to Sarah, aka SJ Childs, because he knew we'd click, which we did. And she's been a fabulous mentor and shared everything that Jimmy has shared with her, because he taught her on so many levels as well. So basically, what a better way to honor you and Sarah was, I thought, to have you both on my show to finish out my year, because I really owe it to you guys for putting that fire under my butt.
No, you're great. You are absolutely phenomenal. And I knew you guys had a story. You and Faith, you guys just impressed me. But I have to correct you on one thing.
Okay.
All right. We're heard in 94 countries, not 74 countries.
You need to change it on your website. Wow.
I just did change it on the website.
Okay.
See, I'm like you. I don't do too much with my website.
Wow, that is amazing.
And we've been downloaded 31,000 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm very honored because before we started recording, Jimmy told me that I was the first and only person that has seen him in person doing an interview.
Yes, and Sarah's going to be very upset because she kept on saying, I don't even know what you look like.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Everyone thinks I'm an apple.
Well, before we jump in, I want to know a little bit about you because, again, like I said, you're a little bit of a mystery to us. So I want to know all about your life. You know everything about mine. I don't really know much about yours.
I know
so
you do taxes.
Are you married? Do you have kids? Do you have pets? What are your hobbies? What do you like to do in your free time? Tell us about yourself.
I'm married for 38 years. My wife is a nurse. I have several pets. I have a dog right now. Now my wife is an animal lover, an avid animal lover. And we had our dog. We have one dog that just passed away recently. We had her for 16 years. She was
Wow.
a mix. And we have another dog that we got from North Shore Animal League. He was a sponsor pet. He was the first dog in North Shore to be an amputee and use a prosthetic. Now, he was on the cover page, and they were using him to raise funds. And my wife fell in love with him, so she wrote him a letter saying, my husband is an amputee. And it just so happens, his name is Blaze. He's in the room here with me.
Mhm.
He was the first dog, like I said, with a prosthetic. And she wrote a letter. And they were like, well, he's like part of North Shore. He goes out on TV shows, and he's with Howard Stern and Beth Stern. He does these personal appearances, blah, blah, blah. And my wife was persistent, kept on writing letters. They said, well, come out and meet him. And they seen that I was an amputee, and left side amputee, and he's a left side amputee. And make a long story short, he's in the room with me right now.
I love it. How?
You can look him up on YouTube. Look for Blaze the Wonder Dog from North Shore Animal League.
Wow.
So
That's pretty awesome.
So we got him. Rachel Ray actually wrote us and wanted to have him on the show.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know what happened. I ended up in the hospital. So he didn't make Rachel Ray, but he's here with us. And we have a cat, Willie. And right now, that's the only two in the house. We at one time we had three dogs, 2 cats, a bird. You know, we always have animals around.
Uh-huh.
And here we are. We're in the upstate of New York, and living the dream, I guess.
Living the dream. Aren't we all trying to live the dream?
Yeah. Put it this way. Could always be worse.
Uh-huh.
I was living in South Carolina. Don't ask me why I moved back to New York. I was born and raised in the Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
Moved to Pennsylvania, then moved down to South Carolina. Then I figured, well, I was tired of the nice weather in South Carolina. Let me move to New York. We moved back here for family. But
okay.
Here we are. And now I'm talking to Karen Guilbault.
Yes. So I know an Apple a Day began as a website known as Famous Apple, dedicated to trying to form an interactive community between people who became disabled while going about their daily lives. Can you share your personal story and journey on how you became disabled and an amputee, and at what age, and how it affects your daily life now?
Well, it all started. Actually, it all started in 1988. I got hit by a truck. I was driving on a highway in the Bronx, and a truck hit a construction site, and he got turned around, came up the highway the wrong way, and hit us head on. It wasn't. I mean, it was bad. I got crushed in the truck, and went to the hospital naturally, couldn't walk for a year. I ended up putting on, and now I know this because happened to be that morning. I had joined the service,
Mm-hmm.
and my goal weight going into the service had to be 217.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always a big boy, and it took a little bit of work to get to 217, and I tried to maintain that weight. And I weighed myself that morning. I weighed 217. Anyway, the accident happened. In the hospital, couldn't walk for a while, came home. I was bedridden. When I could finally walk, see, everyone that came to visit me brought me feel-good food. Shakes, Entenmann's donuts. I was smoking like a chimney at that point, almost 5 packs a day.
Oh my Lord.
Yes, well, there was nothing to do but to eat and smoke. And when I was finally able to stand up and start taking steps, I had no clothes that fit me. I could hardly breathe. And I weighed 380 pounds. Yeah. Yeah. Weight Watchers saved my life.
Uh-huh.
And I lost 100 140, 145 pounds. And I ended up having a heart attack. And I quit smoking that day. I was in South Carolina, and my wife, I was losing weight, and I was up walking again, but with a cane, and I had I had gone to the store for my wife, and when I was in the store, I went to lift a gallon of milk with my left arm, and I couldn't take the pain, and I thought it was my diabetes acting up,
Mm-hmm.
and I put the wagon to the side, and I told the lady, I'll be right back in. I grabbed a bottle of soda. I thought my sugar was low. I was sweating like a pig. I grabbed a bottle of soda and a package of Reese's peanut butter cups. And I went outside the store. I'm drinking the soda, eating the Reese's peanut butter cups. I lit a cigarette. And everything seemed to pass. I went back in. I paid for everything. I went home, but I sweating. I go in. My wife says, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "I don't know. It's hot out." And this is in South Carolina. And we had just moved there. I went in, I changed my shirt, I dried off, I washed up. I came out. By the time I came back out of the bedroom, I had sweated through my shirt again.
Oh my.
I says, "I'm calling an ambulance. You're all gray." I said, "We just moved here. Get in the car, drive me. I'll go to the hospital, but you got to drive me." We get to the hospital, Greenville Hospital in South Carolina. And she says, "I'm going to drop you off at the door." I said, No, park. We don't know what kind of neighborhood this is.
Mm-hmm.
She parks and she's running in the door. I'm stopping in the parking lot and lighting a cigarette. She runs in the door and she says, "I think this idiot out in the parking lot is having a heart attack." And they come running out with a wheelchair, and I'm smoking a cigarette. I'm going, "Nah, there's nothing wrong with me." And then bring me into the chest pain center. I said, "It's my elbow. It's nothing else, just my elbow hurts." Go in, they put me on the gurney, and doctor comes in. He says, "You're having a heart attack." So they hooked me up with everything, and he's trying to make small talk now. My biggest fear was I was 48 at the time. My father died at 48 of a heart attack. So now I'm scared.
Scared, yeah. Yeah.
And he's trying to make small talk now because they got everything kind of stabilized. "Do you like fishing?" "No." "You like football?" "No." I don't want to talk to him. He says, "Do you smoke?" I said, "No." Now I could smell the smoke on me. My
Right.
wife is sitting there, she's drinking a bottle of water. She spit the water out. He says, "You don't smoke?" I said, "No." He says, "When did you quit?" I said, 15 minutes ago. He just laughed. He says, "I hope so." I never picked up a cigarette.
Cigarette. Good
Never.
for you.
Never. But I had two heart attacks. My last stroke was my fifth one. I have 11 stents in my heart.
Oh my word.
I have a stent in my right carotid artery. They had to put a prosthetic in my left carotid artery. I lost my eyesight in my left eye with the last stroke.
Stroke.
I told you I just lost the hearing in my left ear.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Both of my hands, I have peripheral neuropathy.
Mm-hmm.
My right leg, I have peripheral neuropathy. I've had my leg amputated twice, once below the knee, and the last time above the knee.
It was that due to the diabetes, or was that due to the accident, or?
Well, the first amputation below the knee,
Mm-hmm.
I had something that they call Charcot foot, and that's where your ankle kind of deforms, and the bones start imploding on themselves. And what had happened was my foot instead of standing flat, started turning sideways.
Mhm.
I was actually walking on my ankle. And we were in Walmart one night, my wife and I, and my ankle broke. And because of the neuropathy, I couldn't feel it. So it broke and I could hear it, but I couldn't feel it.
Feel it.
But when it did, it just turned completely sideways.
Oh.
And I went to the doctor, and they said to fix it, it would take too many surgeries, and because of my other problems, I wouldn't survive the surgeries. So they had to amputate it.
And how old were you when they did that?
53.
Mm-hmm.
And then got infection and osteomyelitis in the residual limb. And I had just moved to New York. That was in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor, they tried the hyperbaric chamber,
Mm-hmm.
which is a barrel of monkeys being in that. And they tried that for 40 sessions. And it didn't work. And it was spreading, and it was spreading into my knee, what was left. And they said they had no choice, so they had to cut it up. So they did that. And then I was wearing a prosthetic or learning how to use it, and I had another stroke, which affected my left side. Everything affected my left side. And I couldn't wear the prosthetic anymore because I almost broke my neck with that, because it was too heavy for the residual to carry it.
Mm-hmm.
So here I am.
Wow.
But could be worse.
Yes, it could be worse. And it's a good thing your wife is a nurse.
Oh yeah.
So I'm sure she played a key role regardless, but it's nice to actually be married to a nurse.
Absolutely.
Has its perks.
Absolutely. But no, I always say, if it wasn't for her pushing me, I would have been dead a long time ago.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
Yeah, and you know, it takes its physical toll, it takes its emotional toll, you know. So
and it does, but you after a while. Now you yourself know, as the parent of a child with a disability, you get to a point where you have to you yourself have to have what I like to call a pity party. Right? Now, Faith has to be able to have a pity party. And then you have to say, okay, party's over.
Yep.
And let's get back to life.
Amen. Absolutely.
And Faith has done it. Faith has got to be one of the most inspirational people that I've ever met. She's like, I don't know how to explain it. When I first met her, when they first said, well, she has MS,
cerebral palsy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That you're good.
And I was like, okay, all right. I've met other people with cerebral palsy, but you talk to her, she doesn't have cerebral palsy. She's like, I'm here, deal with me, And that's such a cool attitude, and that's why I take such an interest in her, because that's what I try to preach on an apple a day. She's got that attitude, like, hey, get out of my way. And I find that so refreshing.
Yeah.
You as the parent, because I've talked to other parents, and other parents are like, oh, I have a child with this. You're like, who's that? Like, I'm out here throwing axes. I'm out here dancing. I'm out here partying. You're not. You're right out there. You and your husband. Yeah, I look at your family and I'm like, that's the type of family. That's how you have to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so impressed with you guys. That's why I'm not like a cyber stalker. I, I'm like, you guys got it. You guys got it right. And like you had said, sometimes it does get lonely
Mm-hmm.
but you know what? I had said it on a podcast just recently, and we were talking, and I use a lot of the information I get from my groups.
Mm-hmm.
And I always ask questions in the groups, and that's how I get my subject for the podcast. And do you make friends? That was one of the things I went through. I went through like 10 different groups, and I asked the same question in 10 different groups, and I expected to get different answers. But I got 90% of the same answers. I asked, are you afraid to make friends, and have you lost friends?
Mm-hmm.
And 99% of the people said, I don't put myself out there to make friends. And yes, I've lost friends. And when I first got hurt, I used to ride motorcycles with a group of guys,
Mm-hmm.
guys and girls. And there had to be about 30, 35 of us that used to go riding. And when I got hurt, everyone came around and it was like, oh yeah, brotherhood, blah, 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 blah. The Tim Allen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And slowly but surely, it went from 35 down to 25, then 25 down to 10, then 10 down to 5, 5 down to 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I still have those same 3 people. And that's fine by me.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's fine.
Fine.
And I always say, too, that having a disability is like having a magic power, because you can find out who your real friends are.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So, but I'm not afraid to go out and make friends.
Right.
And I don't limit myself to just other disabled people.
Right. Yep.
I don't ever want to be known as, hey, there's Jimmy, the guy in the wheelchair.
Right.
I just want to be known as, hey, there's Jimmy.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
You know?
So, but let me play not devil's advocate, but let me flip to the other side. And this is actually part of my other question too, is so you had a lot of friends,
mm-hmm.
and then you ended up later on in life having, getting your disability, whereas Faith and some of the other ones, they were born with a disability. So like with her, like, and people that were born with it, they don't know the difference. You know what I mean? Like they'll gain friends, so that does, and not, it's not even devil's advocate. It's just so like, it's gotta be hard too. Again, you find who your friends are, but like just being born and you're able to go about your life. And then all of a sudden this drastic thing happens and now a lot of your abilities are taken away.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be hard. I don't want to say harder, but what advice would you have to someone that goes through that? Because like with Faith and some of the other kids, they were born, so they know no different. Like they never had that prior. Does that make sense? Am I explaining that right?
Right. No, I understand what you're saying. They never, but you know what? In a way, and don't get me wrong, I'm not diminishing anybody or anything. In a way, being born with a disability
mm-hmm.
kind of puts you in a not in a good space. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
This is you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're born with it and people don't treat you differently because you're born with it,
mm-hmm.
then no different. Why would you act different?
Right.
If you're treated like there's something wrong with you, then you're going to act like there's something wrong with you.
Amen. Yes, you nailed it.
If you're treated like, hey, see, I'm very much against the word someone is a disabled person.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot be a disabled person, because if you're disabled, you're broken.
Mm-hmm.
You're just a person with a disability.
Mm-hmm. Person first.
Right. You're
Person
person
language.
first
Mm-hmm.
and disability second.
Right.
We're not broken. We're just a little bit bent.
Right.
Okay. If you're broken, get a box, put us in it, and be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
But you're just a person with a disability. You're no
Right.
different than a fat guy, or you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You're no different. Everybody. I don't care who you are. Everybody has a disability.
Mm-hmm.
The person never brushed their teeth and their teeth all fell out. That's a disability.
Mm-hmm.
No different than the guy that can't walk,
Mm-hmm.
because they can't chew.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. How is it where you are in New York, like accessibility wise in your wheelchair? Like, is it like,
Oh, there's certain places I can't go.
mm-hmm.
And the way I look at that, if I can't go there, I don't want to go there.
Mm-hmm.
That's their loss.
Yeah.
That's their loss. That I would have been going there to spend money.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't want to make it accessible to me, then you don't want my money.
That's a good way to look at it. I like that.
You have to look. No one ever went blind by looking at things from the bright side.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
that's all you. And whatever they got in that store, I can find in another
store.
You have to look at things like that. You have to be positive. I can't stand, for the life of me, I cannot stand when somebody sits there and goes, "Oh, poor me."
Mm-hmm.
I have no
Makes you cringe.
cringe.
Cringe is in the word beyond.
I want to pound them when they tell me that. I get emails, Karen, when I tell you, I get emails every day. And if I sort out the emails, I just say I got 10 emails today. I can sort out the emails, and maybe 7 of them will tell me that they have this sob story. I can't do this, I can't do that. And then I get 3 that tell me, screw those other guys.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the 3 I'll answer, and the other 7 I'll throw away.
Mm-hmm.
I have no patience.
Yeah.
No patience, because you're going to tell me I have a sore back and I can't get a power wheelchair. Well, work for it. If that's the case, if you really want to, I laugh when people tell me that, oh, look how lucky you are. You got a power. You know what? I'll give you my power wheelchair. Give me your left leg. Give me your left eye. Give me your hands, and give me your crummy job that you're complaining about, and I will give you my power wheelchair.
Yep.
I will give you my crutches, and you can take my Social Security benefits and take the rest of your life off, and we'll switch.
Yep.
Anytime you want.
Yep.
Anytime. I laugh when they tell me, "Oh, you're on an extended vacation." Well, if this is Disney World, I don't want it.
Yeah, really? Oh my goodness.
I've had people tell me, "Oh, you're living off the fat of the land." Really?
Oh.
Really? But for the most part, I get positive responses.
Right.
I get positive responses, and I love it. I love people like you to take it to the next level. And I knew you were going to do it. I knew you were going to do it, and I'm so happy that you did.
And now I need to take it to the next level and really try and get some people to help me market. And now I need more time to try and grow and market and reach the masses.
You can do it. You can do it. There's no doubt about it.
It's gonna be 1 year down and another year to come with more good things.
This is your first year anniversary.
I know.
So you did a whole year. Think about it.
And what better way than to have you and Sarah on it? My mentors.
I'm not your mentor. I'm your friend.
Mentor and friend.
I am so proud of you. I'm so
And I
proud.
almost feel like it's kind of like therapy to me too. You know what I mean? Like some people are like, oh, oh my gosh, how do you do this? How do you do that? I'm like, yeah, but I like it because it makes me sit back and relax. And then you like talk to other people and you're sharing resources, you're sharing stories, you're, I don't know, it's kind of like therapy to me.
It is.
Talk therapy.
I love podcasts. This is one of the things that, and like you, what you said, you watched all the videos, you did. I did that for a year myself before I started. I think I exhausted every
Every,
YouTube video. I went to Kindle and read every book that was on there for free. I practiced. I practiced in my den without recording a thing, going, "Oh, welcome to an apple a day. Welcome to an apple a day."
I did the same thing.
Every day I looked at that mic. I set it up. I put it different places. Welcome to an apple. And then finally, I was like, I just got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
One day I turned the microphone on, and when I got the first person listening to it, I was so excited. I'm like, look, Tara, look, I've got people listening. I have an audience.
Uh-huh. What are some of the biggest things that you did that helped you kind of promote or like reach others
Well,
to grow it?
one of the things I did was Facebook. I don't go on to all the other things. I don't go on to Twitter.
Yeah, they're hard.
Well, it's not that it's hard. I found it kind of useless.
Mm-hmm.
I stuck with Facebook, and I promote on Facebook. I have a group, living with a disability group. Um, I I have a page on Facebook. I from every episode that goes out, I promote on my group. I promote on the main thing,
Mm-hmm.
public.
Mm-hmm.
Promote on my page. I belong to different groups, different podcast groups. I promote on every one of them every time episode comes out. I'm on Instagram, so I promote on Instagram, and I do a load of interviews,
Mm-hmm.
and I have everyone that I interview. I ask them to promote on there. It's like, now you're interviewing me, which I'm going to promote yours
Right.
on all of mine.
Right.
Like, I'll do a Canva cover,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll promote them on all of my sites. I'll do that this afternoon, actually, or when this goes out.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's just the way. And reciprocal advertising. I don't pay. I really don't pay. I did try paid advertising in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I found that did was help me spend my money.
Yeah.
It really didn't help much.
Mm-hmm.
But I hook into whatever I can hook into, and it just works.
Mm-hmm.
But interviewing people that have and I don't look for people that have humongous followings. I just interview people, and I ask them to put it on
Right.
their Facebook or their social media.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to have worked. I mean, I'll do whatever I can do. And some people are really cheesy about it. They won't interview someone unless they have 1,000 followers or 10,000 followers. It doesn't. You can have 10 followers,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll interview you.
Right.
I'm not like that.
Yeah, and everybody has a story, and everybody everybody has something to share to offer someone.
That's right. And and think about it. We all started with no followers.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't help somebody on the way up, like when you needed help on the way up,
Mm-hmm.
when I needed help on the way up, people were like, "How many followers do you have?" "Well, I have 25. Write me when you have 100. Okay, I'll do that. But when I had 100, I don't want to know them anymore.
Right. Mm-hmm.
To be honest,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what, I know you've had a slew of interviews. Who does anything come to mind, and who's been the most exciting guest that you've had, and why?
To be honest,
Mm-hmm.
every one of my guests have been exciting. I find every one of them to be exciting. I don't, how to explain this? Every one of them has a piece that I find to be exciting. Like I said to you, Faith has been my youngest guest.
Okay.
And Faith has affected me probably more than all, because she has for such a young person, she has such a drive.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that always will stick out in my mind with Faith is her flying in the fishbowl.
Yes.
That, no matter what, that'll always stick out in my mind, because she said she went flying.
Mm-hmm.
And then I seen the video. But she was the youngest. There was another fellow, Mike, he was only 18, and he was going into the Marines. He was in college, he was going into the Marines, and he fell off a roof.
Mm.
And became a quadriplegic.
Pelagic.
He wasn't going. Him and Faith, the two youngest people.
Mm-hmm.
Again, and there's something about them, because he had the same like tenacity as Faith has.
Mm-hmm.
And those two, but everybody that I've spoke to has this, they all have that positive story. That positive, and that's what I look for. And everyone left a piece in me.
Yep.
But like I said, Faith, she has a special place in my heart. She was the youngest. And I mean, think about it. What was she, 15 or 16 when I first met her?
She's 16. Yeah.
And she's making movies. And she wins the People's Choice Award. Mm-hmm. And then she's going off to college. And here's a kid, she's walking runways, and she has cerebral palsy.
Mm-hmm.
And she is not and she's telling people, I don't want your pity. Mm-hmm. Like, holy smokes. Holy smokes. Other kids would be like sitting like a lump on a couch going, I can't do this. My friends don't like me. Blah, 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 blah. And she's setting up associations and foundations and schools. And like I said, those are the people that they take a piece of my heart. Mm-hmm. And I talk about them. I've talked about Faith. I've talked about Mike. I've talked about Lori. There was a woman. Here's a woman. She was on a honeymoon, and she was in Germany with her husband there. And now this is something that stories on Lifetime are made of. But they're with her in-laws in Germany. This is years ago. They're in a van. They're sightseeing. The van breaks down on a railroad track. So they're trying to get out of the van. She's in the back of the van with her husband. Her husband's trying to get her out. All of a sudden, there's a train coming. The train hits the van. She's still in it. Oh. Her husband gets knocked a mile away. She gets knocked. She loses both her arms and both her legs. After years of surgery and everything else, she gets prosthetic arms, prosthetic legs. She goes on to become a doctor and a mother. She has a mother of two, and she's a doctor. Now, there's someone that has every reason to say, "Yep, life sucks, and I'm not doing anything."
Right.
She becomes a doctor, and she writes a book. And I had the honor to be able to interview her. And you talk about someone with a great attitude and a sense of humor. Oh, we laughed for like 2 hours. It was amazing.
Wow.
And these are people. I met a guy, Chad Foster. The guy went blind at 18. He finished the Harvard Business School. Now he's a multimillionaire at 32 years old. He skied a double black diamond or something like that, blind.
Wow.
He has a sense of humor like you wouldn't believe. Inspirational chats. He gets up in front of an audience of all these business people. He's the youngest guy in the room. He looks like The Rock. And he's saying, how many people in here have a bottle of water? Raise your hand. And the people are raising their hand. He's blind as a bat. He goes, he says, I'm going to assume everybody's raising their hand. I mean, the guy is great. But all these people, and I reference them in my podcast because they all mean something.
Yep.
And so, yeah, every one of them are memorable.
Well, I love all the positivity that you do spread, because it's much needed in this world today. Can you share with everybody where they can find you and listen to your podcasts?
Well, I'm going to give you a direct link to the podcast.
Okay.
www.famousapple.com/podcast. And that'll bring you right to my Libsyn podcast page. And you can hear every one of the 270 episodes of An Apple a Day. Everything is right there, the whole catalog. Or you can go to Apple, you can go to Stitcher, you can go to iHeartRadio, you can go to Spotify, wherever podcasts are available, An Apple a Day is there. Just put in An Apple a Day and look for Jimmy Apple.
Awesome. And I'm going to have that in the show notes too.
Well, I appreciate that.
So my last and final question before we wrap up is, if you read, I asked about your word, because words can be very meaningful. What word comes to your mind that's meaningful? And would you be willing to share why you chose it?
Live. Everybody has to live. You don't give up. Don't give up. Don't let anyone give up. Don't let anyone make you give up. And I just want to say one thing, if you'd let me.
Absolutely.
Don't ever define yourself by your disability. And don't ever let anyone define you by your disability. You are you. You're a formidable person. You're a person first, like you said before. Your disability is second. I'm Jimmy. I'm not Jimmy with a wheelchair. I'm not Jimmy the crippled guy. I'm not Jimmy the guy with the heart attack, or I'm Jimmy first. All that other stuff is secondary. You're either going to like Jimmy, you're not going to like Jimmy the wheelchair guy. You're going to like Jimmy. So be yourself. You're a person first. Your disability is secondary. So live.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be on our show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it. I love you guys.
Well, we love you. And I'm just sad that Faith is not here to see you, because I told her I was interviewing you and she's at school. And she's like, man. So,
but
yeah.
Tell Faith I said hello, and I miss her.
I will. So everybody stay tuned for another episode of the Guilbault Girls and the next season coming up.
I can't wait.
Yes.
I can't wait.
All right. Thanks, you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us as we spread awareness through our personal stories and the many resources shared. You can help us by joining our village simply by sharing our show to the masses. If you would like to support the Guilbault Girls on another level, click on the link in the show notes to make a donation in any amount. Add your address and you'll receive a hand-stamped token with the word village on it in appreciation. Be sure to subscribe to our Guilbault Girls podcast and YouTube show, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Guilbault Girls. Till next time.